What do you think some of the oldest art looks like? If you said cave drawings, you were correct. Some of the oldest art was discovered in Indonesia and cave drawings there. Indonesia is above Australia and below Asia and India. They also found a drawing of a pig with again some of the hands drawn above it that they think could be even older, but for today we're mainly going to talk about these hand drawings. How do you think they were able to make these hand drawings if they didn't have modern day pencils or paint? What they ended up doing, the archaeologists believe, is they would put their hand on the wall and then spit red ochre, which is kind of like a mineral, onto their hand to leave that impression of a hand. And then they would use more red ochre to draw in the little details in the hand, like the dots and the lines. But why were these early people drawing on the wall anyways? That's one of the fundamental questions to art, is why do people make art at all? Many people believe art is one way for humans to show their mark on the world. Because even though we will never know what these people's names were, or maybe even what they looked like, we can see what their hands look like now and the things that they wanted to leave behind on the cave drawing. Their intentions were able to outlive them even thousands and thousands of years later. There's an even older, what you could say is a drawing, and they found in South Africa, was some pigment on a rock that they think may have been part of a bigger drawing. Even archaeologists aren't quite sure if they want to call this art because it could just be, scribbles instead of actual intention of the person that drew on the rock. But they found it interesting that humans have been doing this potentially even 73,000 years ago. So these people left their mark on their walls, and I would like you to think about how you could leave your mark on the world. I'd like for you to think about your future. I'd like you to take about 10 minutes to write down some notes. It doesn't have to be complete sentences, just some notes about what you want to be in the future. That could be a profession, that could be hobbies, that could be a wide range of things. And in the future, where do you want to go? Do you want to stay here? Would you like to go to another city, another country? Where do you see yourself? How are you going to get there? Are you going to maybe travel with other people? Are you going to do it alone? Are you going to get a job to help you get there? How do you think you're going to get to your future? Who will be with you? Will you be doing this alone? Will you take a sibling or a friend or your parents? Or will you be striking it out by yourself? And then when will this be? Will this be a year from now? Will this be 10 years from now? How long do you think it'll take for you to get to the future that you're looking forward to? So take 10 minutes now to just think over these questions. Again, it doesn't have to be complete sentences. You're just brainstorming about your future and the mark that you'll leave on the world. So, with that in mind, you'll be starting your first real project. The requirements of the project will be to use at least one word from your writing reflection somewhere in your composition. I'll also ask you to have a hand as part of your subject matter, so you'll have to draw at least one hand in there somewhere. And I'd also like for you to fill the space. The rest of your composition can use interesting words or lines, which are technically lines. Words are technically lines. But I'd rather not see a lot of blank space. I'd rather you fill up your composition with interesting things than just have a lot of white going on. And then I'd like you to use at least 2 different types of lines, but I feel like most people naturally do this requirement anyway, so it's not something you have to worry about too much. And you may trace your hand for this project, but you could also use grid method, freehand to hand, or any other technique you'd like. You can also use any materials you have available to you, whatever you're comfortable with or know that you'll have fun with. The last requirement is to have fun with it. This should be a fun activity for you to show me kind of what kind of mark you want to leave, and don't stress out about trying to make it perfect. I'd like to show you some examples of past student work. This top left one has wildcats in it, and it has a lot going on with the nice patterns and the straight lines. And on the bottom, it actually spells out cats with the sign language hands that we learned earlier. The second one, the word they chose to use was ignite, and they chose to have a word coming out of the stormy water here with a K burning on their hand. It has quite a lot of interesting lines going on in the background, but also the softer lines going on in the hand. With this one, this person actually traced their hand on it and then traced their friend's hands on top, and then colored it in, and the word they chose was teamwork. And this last one, the word that they chose was ball is life, mentality, the NHHS logo, and then some other logos going on. They chose to draw their hand extended like it's about to catch a ball. And then in order to fill in their space, they did kind of a more regular drawing technique of just filling in the space with blue pencil. And then they shaded in their hand and shaded in their words, and they were finished with their project. So these are all great examples of a completed project for this. But really, yours is going to look like however you want it to look like, and please look for feedback from your classmates or from me if you need any help at all.